Hey friends! I'm Jesse Fisco.
And I'm Ambry Fisco.
As founders of several successful businesses, we've experienced absolute joy and satisfaction working together to build our empire.
Our journey started off as a small business idea and has launched into a multi-million-dollar portfolio. It would have never been possible had Jesse and I not understood the key principles of making it all work together. But it has not been easy.
We found ourselves in the trenches trying to balance real life with business life while maintaining our strong commitment to creating an amazing marriage.
And we've emerged in a beautiful way together. This podcast was created to help you do what we've done, build an amazing marriage together while maintaining balance between life and business.
So here we are. You're listening to the Matrimonial Merger, a couple's guide to balancing life and business.
Let's get started. Welcome back, everyone. So good to have you back on another wonderful Monday. I love Mondays. Start to a great week. And today we are going to talk about one of the biggest mistakes that people make on their journey of hitting their goals that keeps them from hitting that goal. Biggest mistake.
The biggest mistake.
Are you ready for this, Jesse?
Woo!
Wow, I can feel the fire coming from your mic over there.
I'm excited. You know what's the best part about this is just being able to sit down and have 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I don't know, of your time.
This is like a date night for us once a week. Man, I've never considered that. This is a date. We're doing so good with our date nights.
We are crushing.
And then you add this on,
nights.
It's like, dang.
No wonder we're so aligned.
Wow. You should start a podcast with your spouse if you haven't yet.
And I know a couple people that can definitely help you with that.
Yes.
So you do too. We both know.
So, yeah. So interesting. Jesse and I the other day we have a goal right now, both of us, to hit at least 10,000 steps per day. And for some reason, like, that has been a challenge for us. Like, it's pushed us. It hasn't, like, it's happened easily because we've created opportunities for it to happen, but like, it has challenged us. And what we realized, like, part of this process was like, we had this same goal last year at some point, and we'd go outside, go for walks, we'd do all the things. It was great. And then like winter hit. And we kind of just stopped.
Did it hit. We're talking record snow. I think we got the snow.
It's so good. We've had so much snow this year. We
broke the threshold of snow 2 months early.
Good. And yeah, because last year there was like none.
It was lackluster.
So like we kind of just like, it just lost the flair. Like we weren't doing it anymore. It was like, we're still counting our macros and doing all these other things that have been important to us on our fitness journey, but like we stopped with the step goals. Yep. And recently we've both re-implemented that, and we like realized, we're like, holy crap, like what happened? Because this was very important to us last year. Like what happened? And what it came down to is that like we didn't shift with the goal. We just ditched it. We were like, this got a little hard. Like, let's just not focus on that anymore. And for me, I wonder like what that could have done to like to help my journey and where I am now. Like how different could that be had I not like lost sight of that?
It could have been it could have been a lot different, right? Like one of the things that was easy for me to get sidetracked by is like I still have weight on my frame that I'm trying to lose. And so losing weight was very easy, whether I got the steps or not. When I was heavier, it was easy to lose the weight, and therefore it was kind of like an easy way to justify like, oh, I'm still, I'm seeing results, so I don't really need to walk. When ultimately the goal of the six-pack, right, to have rockin' hard abs is going to require those minor steps. Yeah. And it's going to require the details, micro details of the workout. So not only are you hitting your food, working out 4 times a week, but you're also supposed to be getting your steps in.
The consistent movement, Yes,
to allow the fat to be broken up in your body. But I was so easily distracted when it was cold because I was still seeing weight shed off the body that like you said, I didn't shift with it because I didn't necessarily feel like
like
there
you
was a
needed to.
need
Yeah.
to. I was blinded by the quick success.
Yeah, for sure. And like, bear with us. This whole episode won't necessarily be about like steps and fitness, but this is where this like realization hit us, where we were like, oh man, like we just let it go. Like we didn't, we just ditched it instead of shifting with it. And I think that likely when we do that with it, whatever the goal is, we actually experience the adverse like outcome, right? So I literally do sit here and wonder, because I mean, I remember the nights of like, okay, I'm at 9,000 steps. I got to get to the 10,000. I literally would like be walking around our kitchen counter, like while eating dinner to get my steps in. So like, I know I've done it. I know I can do it. I know I can get creative. But like, where did I just kind of let that slide? Right.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because we talked the other day. We're like, we can get out the snow clothes and go walk still in the winter if we want to. We have like some good friends that they literally are still going on like, several mile runs every day right now, even though it's like freezing outside. So like, it's possible. I know, right? Love you guys. But like, it's possible. But like, it happens, and then it's easy to just let it go and be like, oh, this got hard.
Yeah.
So, but I do ask myself, I'm like, what? Like, because when I started like a specific fitness journey like a year ago, I didn't have a ton of weight I wanted to lose and needed to lose. I wanted to tone, build muscle, all of that, right? But I'm like, how big of a difference could this have made over the last year had I like truly kept consistent with it? And it kind of makes me mad. Like, dang it. But here we are. We're learning great things from this. And I also want to talk about like how this applies to like a relationship, right? Because I think a lot of us often set like goals for a date night or, different relationship things. And, what happens when someone gets sick and date night has to, look different or get postponed? Or what happens when a babysitter falls through? Or what happens when like, whatever that is? What happens when you receive like pushback, right?
Yeah, the outcome you didn't desire.
So then like you just give up and say, oh, well, that was a cool goal. We were going to go on a date every other week this whole year, but since this one time it didn't happen, like let's just forget about that goal altogether. And I think that's something that unfortunately is a common thing when it comes to goals.
Yeah, I would say too that like, what do you like? Once again, getting clear with what it is. What do you consider a date? Because maybe you're being too hard on yourself, or maybe your unconscious mind is realizing a date, what technically would be in your model of the world a date, although it's not a date, like what you want. And I mean, here's something to consider, right? Like today I found a quarter on the floor and I picked it up and I said, I'm a money magnet, because that's my affirmation anytime I find money or make money. Anyways, I have been telling my unconscious mind, I want to make money. I want to make more money, right? Well, I made money. So did I specify enough how much money and what time?
Yeah.
Or did my unconscious mind open up the way for me to have a quarter and I made money?
Sure.
And so same thing with your date. How specific are you getting? What are you qualifying as a date? Because you and I just mentioned earlier right here, this is technically a date. We're sitting here having a great conversation. No kids, us two, focused on us.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and like to your point about your unconscious mind, like there's so much power there, because you may not even be considering what you actually needed out of that situation. And just maybe like you have created the perfect outcome without realizing it. Right. Like,
yes.
So I know this is kind of like it feels like a tangent but it all comes together. But like a few weeks ago, we're going to go on a date after the kids went to bed, and, due to some certain circumstances, like we ended up back at home and didn't really get our date. And we were kind of like, oh, this is so frustrating. But at the end of the day, what happened is we had the opportunity to shift our focus that night and really talk about something that was very important to us with one of our children, and that needed to be addressed and needed our attention, because it was something we needed to help her with and help her work through. And we kind of had this like breakthrough moment that night of like, oh my gosh, I think this is why she's feeling this way. Or I think this is, and would that have happened if our date night didn't get quote unquote like ruined? It wouldn't have.
Right.
And so like at first it was kind of like, oh, this is such a bummer. But luckily, like, because we, became curious and we're trying to stay positive and like build each other up, like it turned out to be exactly what I believe it needed to. We just didn't even know at the beginning of the night. And so, so being open to like the fact that maybe like the shifts and the changes are actually what are meant to happen. Maybe they're serving your business, your relationship, your health in a different and higher way. But because sometimes we can be so closed-minded and like expect like this one specific way, like we're not seeing the beauty of the outcome that we could say our unconscious mind created for us, or that, the universe gave us, that God gave us, whatever that is for you. But,
well, and I think of it and say, okay, on my 25 characteristics that I wrote, one of them is for me.
Okay.
Like for 25 characteristics I want to describe myself as. And I even went as far as creating a meditation with my own voice, and I listen to that every single night before I go to sleep. One of those characteristics is a date. Like we go on dates every other week, and that those are dates I've planned. And then the other characteristic is that my kids understand and know how much I love them, right? Well, those two that night crossed.
They aligned.
Cool. We went on a date, and although that date was about 15 minutes long and we had to turn around and go home, they aligned magically, perfectly, so that I could turn around and go back and say, you know what? Like,
that's really cool.
This is, my daughter knows I love her because I am consciously aware of her feelings and open and susceptible to the suggestions that I'm feeling because of her emotions. And because of that, they aligned perfectly. So you're right. Maybe in that case, it was one end. We had to experience a little bit of frustration, in essence, some feedback, to be able to open our minds to a greater good.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I think that like initial feedback that we receive is super important, because without that, we may not, get the experience of shifting it into like a positive, right? Sure. We may not, and that's something that I'm really proud of us for focusing on this last year, because like when we realized we had to go back home, like that this wasn't going to work out the way we thought, we were frustrated. Like we were both just like, oh my gosh. And we could have allowed that to, carry over into the rest of the night, the next day, whatever. Right. But like, I'm really proud of us that we didn't do that. We became curious and we tried to consider other things and what were we not seeing? But what's cool is like the initial emotion that you receive, it's not a bad one. Like there's something to be learned there. You just have to figure out what that is. Right. And if you can do that, then you've turned that into a positive thing. And likely your emotion at that point is a very wonderful and resourceful one. So I think that initial emotion is super important to be keen on and like learn to find what you need to learn from that.
And I was going to say one person that I was listening to give a speech, he said, your first resistance, your first piece of resistance that you receive should be ignored. Like you should get around that as fast as you can, because it's not the first piece of resistance. It's generally the second or third layer that's behind that first piece of resistance that is the learning.
So you got to go deeper.
Yeah. So by essentially getting curious, because I remember that situation, I was very upset and I was frustrated. But as I started to ask myself and get around the upset and frustration, it's okay to show emotion, but understand that those emotions should not last. Like they should not last long, right? You should be able to get around it. And that's what happened is we moved around the emotion, got curious and found what truthfully was the bigger play and the resolution.
You're right, because what we thought was the problem initially that caused those emotions really wasn't the problem in this situation. It was something deeper than that.
And honestly, it's an assumption. So like think about that. Your first reaction is an assumption and it's not even true. Right? That's your model of the world speaking, and it could be totally different. Yeah. So that's one thing I would say. Now, like, digging deep there, though, right? Like, as you go through and try to go around and figure out what the second or third layer is, you may find things that are a reflection directly of you.
Yeah.
And you have to be prepared for that as well. But this is what this whole episode's talking about, is like being able to shift with the environment, shift with the habit, and instead of allowing something to just destroy it, right? Like, Ambry and I, sure, with the feedback of our daughter, we could probably never plan another date again and say this is what's going to happen, right?
And succumb to the circumstance
and live in
rather
the past,
than like,
right? And never allow ourselves the opportunity to try it again and change and grow, and uncover what really the true problem was. But we're over there thinking on the first emotion that it's just our daughter's lack of allowing us to leave the house without her, right? Like, and that's not the case. She's fine with that and has proven that before. But the underlying emotion that was tied to the reaction that she gave us, that was something a lot deeper and a lot more important to address. Yeah.
Which like was tied to certain events going on within our family at that time that she was trying to understand and sort through. And she, you know, she's 5 years old. Like she wants to understand.
I'll be very honest. I was
going to say, like, we can dive into the details.
There was a death in our family, and it was for my grandpa, and we went over to my mom's house, and my mom.
I think we might have talked about this a little bit.
My mom, bless her heart, is dealing with a lot of feedback in her end, and our 5-year-old Quincy, she went to see her grandma, and she saw her grandma very stressed,
in a different state. She's
and
grieving,
very emotional,
and
Quincy didn't like that, and she's
used to when we go to grandma's, like she, you know, immediately gets all this attention,
right?
But
the attention wasn't there, and so Quincy instantly associated funerals and death with, I'm not getting the love from my grandma. My grandma doesn't love me, and that we were able to catch pretty quickly because it started affecting her sleeping, and her sleeping was, I'm going to crawl in your bed. I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to get all emotional because she was afraid.
She had emotions like festering and like happening inside herself that she didn't understand. And she needed someone to be like, okay, let's talk about this. Like, get it out. Let's understand this. And I mean, that was such a cool, beautiful thing when that was allowed to happen, right? When we finally realized like, oh my gosh, like there's been all of these feelings and feedback and even some negativity around this whole situation, and she's feeling all of it. And I think sometimes this is turning into like a parenting podcast, but sometimes as parents, we like forget that like these kids are like, they are internalizing and feeling, and all of these situations are creating programs within them. And so what are you determining that program to look like in their mind and in their emotions? And in this case, like we were headed in the wrong direction and we were kind of like, oh crap, like we gotta fix this. And so the next day we were able to have a great conversation with her, and she was honestly like I feel like excited to open up and to share her feelings and to start to understand. Yes. And all of a sudden she starts sleeping better.
Her exact words to me, which check mark for like my 25 characteristics I shared earlier, was, Dad, I love sharing my feelings with you. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, fathers, mothers out there, your 5-year-old's telling you that, that's a win. Yeah. Don't care what anyone else will say. You can't take that win away.
Yeah. Right? And had we not like been able to shift with certain habits or like feedback, that would have never happened. You would have never got that experience. No. And then Quincy likely would still be over there like having like this anxiety and frustration, and that would be affecting her feelings, her sleep, her behavior, and we'd be over here frustrated at all that and not seeing what's truly happening.
Yeah. And looking outside, like looking from the outside in now, like the thing I wanted the most was a relationship there. And because of my initial frustration that I felt because we didn't get to go on a date because I was in essence being self-centered, I wouldn't have gotten what I truly had wanted. Right. And so I was resisting the very thing that I wanted. And it was a tender mercy allowing me to actually have that moment and have that conversation, and the relationships improved. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like there's no coincidence there, and your unconscious mind I truly believe my unconscious mind attracted that because that's what I've been focusing on.
That is powerful. Are you resisting the thing that you actually want, the thing you truly want? Like, are you resisting it by your actions
primary
and
emotion,
your resistance and the primary emotion? That's so cool. I love that because I think even like in business, right? Like there are situations that happen like that in business, right? Where you're on your way to something, you are locked in, right? But you receive some kind of feedback.
Yeah.
And like if you just react quickly based on that initial emotion and resistance and that's it, then like the outcome is not going to be what you want.
Yeah.
You're going to go away from the goal rather than towards it.
Oh, I remember too, like with this Emerge coaching, it has stretched and pulled. And like, let me get this straight. Emerge coaching was never like in my playbook a year ago.
No.
It was never, I'm going to start a coaching program. What it was is I had my inner voice, like we shared on last week's episode, literally scream at me that I needed to do this. Every fiber in my being was shaking and telling me that this is exactly what I needed to do. And so what do? We started doing it, right? We started listening. And as we started listening, things started to change. And then there was, oh, well, you know what? You need to learn this type of marketing tactic. You need to learn how to publicly speak because you're going to be in front of a lot of people. Oh my gosh, you need to learn how to do a podcast really well. And before I knew it, financially, we were exhausted of funds to continue to grow.
Yeah.
And so here I am, you know, you and I both looking at it going, holy crap, we've invested a ton of money into this. And we still have two more things, $30,000 that we still have to put in here. And we don't have it.
Oh crap.
Oh,
what do
crap.
we do? Do we like lean into that resistance and that initial feedback and say, yeah, never mind. This was too much. Like this doesn't make a lot of sense logically. Like, and I mean, you can talk yourself out of any good thing in about 2 seconds. Right. Like,
and the thing, and that's what's so funny about the whole situation though, is it's like, well, look at all the work we've done and all that time. So if you dump it down the toilet, like that freaking sucks because I just wasted my life stressing and taking away from my family to do nothing, right? Or I can become resourceful and figure out this $30,000 and like listen to
invest in yourself, but on yourself
and listen to the inner voice. So what do we do? Of course, we pulled out a credit card, whoop-de-doo, paid it, got it done, and Wednesday,
it's gonna be awesome.
Wednesday of this week in 2 days, it's going live, and it's going.
Well, by the time this episode airs, it'll actually be launched a few days ago.
And there's a ton of stuff, but let me tell you this, okay? The things that you're not considering are the things that you want. Mm-hmm. In essence, like you're not considering the fact that, like, with this Emerge coaching, for example, I have a goal of $250 million in 8 years.
Yeah.
Maybe I make that next month.
Yeah.
I'm not like, have I considered that? No. And I'm like, that might actually become reality. In fact, you and I were looking it up. Avant. Okay, Avant. 1 month, 16 days, startup company to $1 billion company.
In like 45 days.
46
days, whatever.
45 days.
Yeah,
so it's
crazy.
Possible. It's a unicorn company. That's what they call them. But that's the thing is, do you think they were considering a $1 billion company? No.
Maybe. They could have been.
Maybe they were. And they got what they wanted faster.
Yeah.
Maybe they were
they probably did know that their idea was going to be huge, but did they know it was going to happen that quickly? No. But they were doing all the things, I'm assuming.
Right.
That, that set them up for that success. And I can truly say, like, we've learned a lot in our journey of being entrepreneurs, right? We've gone and we've done, and I think we've gone all in on ourselves and risked so many times now that we know, like, it has to work. It's going to work.
It has to work. Yeah.
We will always figure it out. We will always, like, roll through and push through whatever feedback we receive, right? But I can truly say, like, I think this is the first thing that we've done and started, the Merge coaching, where I don't think I've ever said, like, well, what if this happens negative? Like, what if this doesn't work? Or what if it's like, no, it's going to. Like, what if this makes us what if we make $1 million in the first year? What if we make the $1 million in the first month? Like, there's a different feeling and a different emotion tied to it. Excuse me, because I know.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other option.
We know
like,
it's going to be a $250 million company.
Yeah. Don't know when, like, exactly.
We know it's going to be within 8 years.
We know it's going to happen quickly, and it could happen quicker than we know, right? But, like,
sure,
it's different with the language that you put it. And we actually talked about this last week a little bit too, but, like, the language is so important. Like, stop sabotaging yourself with your words. Stop sabotaging your business with, oh, what if this, what if that, what if it doesn't work? What if I can't do this? It's like, you will figure it out. If you believe in yourself and you put enough at stake mentally, emotionally, physically,
financially,
energy, money, whatever, you're going to figure it out. Believe in yourself.
Yes.
Like, are you just going to like roll over and be like, oh, well, never mind. If you've just invested $30,000 on a credit card, like, I mean, I sure hope not. If you would do that, then don't start it. Don't do it.
But that's the thing.
But like, you got to believe in yourself. And it might start smaller than that, right? The first time it might be $1,000 or $5,000. Maybe it's $100,000 for you, whatever that is, right? But like, show up and prove to yourself that you can do it. And over time, like we talked about this on an early episode, making risk less risky, the risk becomes less risky over time because you prove to yourself that you can do it. And all of a sudden, you don't fear anymore.
Right.
Like, you know that it will work out and you know that it will succeed because you believe in yourself and in your ability to create.
Yeah. We signed a $40,000 contract today for marketing for 2 companies. Yeah.
Cool.
See?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
But like,
I didn't sign that. You signed it without me?
I signed it. Yeah.
Jesse.
Why do we even need to talk about it? We know it's going to do what it's going to do, right?
Oh, man.
And that's the thing, though, is like, do we have $40,000 right now? Absolutely not. I'm still paying off that other credit card, right? But hey, guess what? Like, we negotiated with the company. We got it all set up. So first payments are done in May while this credit card's projected to be paid off here before that. Yeah. And then you just turn around and rinse and repeat. Yeah. And great news, right? That new system, that new process is doing multiple things. We already know what it's going to do for us. Yeah. It's going to allow us to have more time to focus on our family. It's going to allow us more time or more opportunities to create more revenue for our business. So why wouldn't you do that?
And it's aligned with our purpose 100%. And what we've been, focusing on. And it's so interesting how if you allow it to, things will flow that direction. Yeah. You just gotta figure out that resistance and stop resisting what you want.
Exactly. In fact, we have multiple listeners right now, and one in particular that I know is starting a fitness program. And
so awesome.
It's so cool. And he has worked his butt off. He's taken massive risk. And
if you're looking for a personal trainer, I think he has a couple spots left next month. So hit us up if you want his contact.
And if you work with Emerge Coaching, you get access to him absolutely free. So
that's right.
One of the things that's
even better.
Why
wouldn't you want to elevate like every aspect of your life, including your fitness, your relationship, your mindset, your business, all of it? Yeah. I'm telling you, that right there is where it's at.
That's right. So here's the deal, though. Like with him, I mean, I could see where it would be easy right now to just say, I'm done. I'm going to go back to a job. Yeah. Right? He's risked stuff. He's put money on the line.
I'm sure he's felt resistance. I'm sure because we've been there. I'm like, I know there's those like moments where they're sitting there going like, holy crap. Yeah. How is this going to work? Like how, yeah. And maybe not, but this is just based off our experience. I'm like, I know those feelings are real. Right.
But he's going to, the biggest thing that he's going to face right now is what is he not considering? Because maybe his goals, I don't recall what the goal is for his business, but maybe he hits that in a month. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe he's so aligned with everything that it just becomes natural and easy. The thing is
well, and I mean, like, I'm sure he's probably going to listen to this. So I'll just say, like, I think already how incredible that like the two of you aligned.
Oh yeah.
Because like what could be and what will be for Emerge will flow into his business, and like, good job. Holy crap. Like that's an awesome alignment to create, to launch a business, to have like a, several flows of business, right? Like
Right.
your clientele is coming from multiple what's the word I'm looking for?
Just multiple streams.
Yes, streams.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so, like, I don't know. Maybe he sees that, but like, I think sometimes we got to take a step back and be like, this is working. Like,
Yes.
things have happened that I didn't think would happen already. Things would happen that I maybe didn't even like anticipate or realize.
Yeah.
And then go, it is working. Like, this is happening. So keep going. And we've done the same thing, like with any business we've created or, started. But like, I mean, that happens every day with Emerge coaching. Like,
It's so funny.
It's like, wait a minute. Do you realize what just happened? That like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is great. This makes so much sense. Like, anyways.
It's unreal. And my favorite is like, yeah, we spent $30,000. One part of it was for public speaking, and I've already got it paid off from another gig signed up. Super easy.
Yeah.
Right?
But you have to believe that will be the outcome, and that
Right.
You deserve that, and that you will do it.
Yeah. And
Go all in on yourself.
It was so
You're
funny.
your best.
It was
your best asset.
My favorite part about all this is they're like, oh yeah, you should probably, if you're just starting out for public speaking, you should probably start out for $5,000 to $10,000 per public speaking gig. The first person I quoted, I said $100,000.
Yeah.
And their job out hit the floor, but then their comment was, we'll try to figure something out.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
100
And
grand.
you'll figure something out. And regardless what those numbers look like,
Right.
like that insane respect and value out the door, like,
Jeez.
and then what happens when you get a referral? They already know, like, this guy is like top notch. Like, we need him.
100%. And the thing that was so funny is like, she was amazing, very respectful. She did challenge me. She's like, seriously, you charge that much? And I'm like, absolutely, I do, right? Like, because I know that this will not be the only opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know that there are others.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I don't know if we could fit that much in the budget, but we'll see what we can do. And I'm like, I also like going on vacations. I like taking my family on vacations.
So if we can make it dual end and make it a vacation, then let's work something out.
If you guys can pay for our vacation and pay me a small fee to come speak, I'm all down for that too.
Yeah.
But the thing is you're aligned. That's what it comes back down to is I'm so aligned that I have no problem. Like asking for $100,000 to go publicly speak. Well, how? Like most people would be like, this guy's full of himself. No, it's just I'm aligned. And I know that there's someone out there that will pay $100,000 and that's what I'm going after. And
awesome.
That's the thing, though, is like going back to today's subject, it would be very easy for someone to come up and say, hey, will you come publicly speak for $10,000? And me in a moment of, okay, yeah, I have some credit cards and stuff I need to pay off, take that. But then I fall out of the other habit of asking and requesting that amount. Therefore, I'm diminishing my value by saying yes to the lower amount without making sure
I'll do it for 10,000.
Right. Well,
I'm just kidding.
But that's the thing is like I'm diminishing my value. So are you diminishing your value and your agreements, internal agreements with yourself because you're not staying committed to what you said you're going to do?
Yeah.
Your unconscious mind is literally a bunch of beliefs and agreements that you've set internally.
It's true.
And so your agreements with yourself, are you diminishing those by not sticking to what you said you're going to do?
Yeah, I love that.
And so
which is why I also love, like, with the friend that you talk to, like, if you, like, when you do end up doing that gig, if it ends up being less of a fee, but they also give us, like, an opportunity for a family vacation, like, it's still aligned with your core and who you what you've created, and you're not deviating from, like, that map, if you will.
Yeah. Well,
because it's serving another purpose.
I have 100 list of experiences I want, and
one of them, you can check one off.
One of them's to go to Hawaii. So if they paid for a vacation to Hawaii, sure, I just exchanged my public speaking service in exchange for an experience I get to check off my list, and I got to do it faster than I thought I was going to do it. Yeah,
and you had the opportunity in the first place. Like, way to go!
All right, so I'm not diminishing myself by taking less. Right? Sure, the trip to Hawaii is not $100,000 trip. But I'm also not diminishing myself and allowing myself to get what I still want.
Right.
And it's an ecological win because I'm now giving them what they want because I'm able to go speak.
And it feels great.
And it feels great. And everyone's happy. And that's the thing is, get aligned with yourself. Yeah. The more aligned you are internally, the more focused you are on the things you want and you understand those things, the easier it will become. In fact, aligned is such a great word for Ambry and I that we have talked about using aligned in some form of business in the future because it means so much. It means exactness. It means straightway. And tell me that you haven't read exactness or straight way in the scriptures or in words that describe God himself. Become aligned with you. And as you become aligned internally in your purpose, you become more and more like God every single day.
So awesome.
So cool.
So the question I'll ask is, like, when it gets quote unquote too hard, like when it feels that way, have you like predetermined and already decided what you will do to persevere and to continue forward? Ask yourself that question and answer that question for yourself. Because if you can answer that question, then you're set up for success. And there's nothing that will stop you.
You guys, thank you so much for listening to Matrimonial Merger. If we struck an emotional chord today or, we really got you going, got you excited, go ahead and leave us some feedback. Rate our show. We'd love to hear from our listeners. Or if you have a question or something.
Reach out to one of us, yeah.
We're
so easy to get a hold of.
Someone came over to our house the other day and you just had a conversation and it was awesome.
Great.
And that's what we're hoping to do with this community is help people understand themselves and help them win bigger in health, wealth, and relationships. So with that being said, we'll sign off this week. Thank you so much for listening and we hope you have a wonderful...
Happy Valentine's Day too, by the way.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Okay, we'll see you all next time.